such a good song.
Mm-hmm.
And it deserved way better. Justice for Decode. I hate everyone. That's it. That's my opinion. I have to be.
We are really mad about this.
So we watched Twilight.
Yeah, Katie made us watch Twilight.
I did it.
What is it, 12 years later?
I do it again. All right, Shelby, you go first. Tell me how you felt about the portrayal of Paramore in this film.
What? Paramore?
What portrayal of Paramore?
Paramore was in this movie? That's how I feel.
We've been talking about Jennifer's body over the last interspersed time, and remember that Paramore did a song for Jennifer's body.
What?
Technically, it was only Haley Williams.
Oh, sorry. Yes,
Yeah.
Haley Williams did a song
When
for.
did that movie come out?
Probably right before this,
So
actually,
9.
or right after it. Okay.
I thought it was older than that.
And what's crazy is that movie did the same fucking thing.
Really?
Yeah, the song from Haley Williams is 20 seconds. I think it's an alarm radio or something. It's
Justice for
literally
Haley.
only in there for a second.
Oh my
Justice
god.
for
And
Haley.
it's a good song because it's teenagers, right?
Yeah.
I love that song.
It's a really good song.
Justice.
Here's how I feel about the portrayal of Paramore in this movie. My friends wanted me to go see Twilight with them when it came out.
And you were 13?
Yes,
Okay.
sure. Sorry, 08? Yeah, 13. They all love Twilight. I did not love Twilight. I loved Paramore. I said no, and I'm glad.
For context, Shelby's currently wearing a Haley Williams t-shirt. So.
I love them, but and they came back and they were like, Paramore was in it, and I was like,
Was it though?
I don't regret it, and I don't regret it.
Now that you've seen it, yeah, because it's
Waste
literally.
less of your time and money just buying the album or Googling, YouTubing the fucking demos.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
far more satisfaction in doing that too.
Yeah, because you could actually hear the whole song.
Yeah.
I would like to say that they got shifted. I would like
Shafted?
to say that they got bamboozled into writing a really good song for this movie, just for it to be what's the runtime on this movie?
I don't know, 90 minutes? That's my guess.
Okay,
Too much.
Paramore plays at 95 minutes. That's when Paramore plays.
After a Linkin Park song.
For
Yeah.
God's sake. I agree, and I think that 2008 is too late for it to be a Linkin Park moment.
Agreed.
We
I
digress.
also hate Muse.
Yeah.
I have always hated Muse.
Well, that's what okay. I love that you called me out on Paramore splaining. Because
we're 3/4 of the way through the movie, and we're talking about not even 3/4. We're
Yeah, it was,
halfway through the movie.
yeah.
And the first Paramore song starts playing, but it's on volume level 3
Mhm.
during the bookshop scene or whatever the fuck. And I'm like, am I even listening to Paramore right now? And it's a 20-second snip of the song, and Katie starts mansplaining Paramore to Shelby.
I don't know why, for some reason, I just assumed that you wouldn't know.
She's like,
Because you've never seen
actually,
Twilight.
Paramore wrote 2 songs for Twilight.
And I was giving a miniature review. I was one of them is better than the other. They're both good.
She's
But one's better than the
one's
other.
called Decode.
In hindsight, I am kind of dumb. But I just assumed that she didn't watch Twilight, so she didn't know.
You're not dumb. You're just tired because we were watching.
I
Twilight
learned a
one night.
lot about the way that Paramore was used in the movie. I had no idea. I thought it was at least the last song or the first song with the credits,
Yeah.
but it was not.
But you're well aware of and enjoy listening to those songs by Paramore
Oh yeah,
outside of the context of Twilight.
they're
yeah.
excellent songs.
Yeah, agreed. What was I gonna say? Fuck. Was it about? Oh, Muse. Right. So right after this, I think is when Muse came out with that. What was that song? Victorious.
Oh my God.
That was played every
Oh my
other
God,
song on the radio.
It's like a funeral march.
Yeah. So at one point in the movie, I just heard of Shelby. What did I? Oh, we were talking about one of the songs before the baseball scene, I think. Right?
I don't know.
I don't know,
Okay.
but we didn't know who it was, and I was like, it might be Muse. And she goes, I hate Muse. And I was like, Stephanie Meyer loves Muse. I don't give a fuck.
Is it her
want to tell a story for the podcast that we all know and love
Okay.
that illustrates, and we will talk more about Paramore, I think, because
no fucking shit.
I didn't necessarily mean tonight, but like in the future, because it is.
No, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay, good.
Duh.
It's a great thing. The story is, I don't remember how old she was, but Shelby had a sweatshirt that she loved very dearly that said Paramore on it. And one
Still have
time, she still has it. You were a teenager,
Okay.
and you have this sweatshirt that said Paramore on it.
Yes.
Had the Fueled by Ramen logo on the arm, right? Some ramen bowls. And she wears this sweatshirt to go grocery shopping in Winco. And our cashier is a man in at least his late 30s, if not in his 40s. And he looks at her sweatshirt.
He's bald.
And he's bald. And he's a cashier at Winco. And he says, Paramore, huh? Bubblegum pop for the masses.
To like a 15
To her face.
girl. A 15-year-old girl in Winco at like 7 p.m.
And I was just like, I was flabbergasted, to be honest. What do you say to that? Like, oh, I really value your opinion, cashier at Winco.
Also, it's not even fucking bubblegum pop.
Definitely not. And definitely not for the masses either.
No, good God.
They got one really popular song and they hate it. I don't think that counts.
Anyway, I find that like so indicative. Yeah, exactly. Of the way that people perceive Paramore, and also the people who are fans of Paramore. It's I don't know, this is kind of cheesy, but it sort of mirrors the way that people reacted to Twilight and people who liked Twilight. Am I wrong?
Yeah.
So I said,
Are you telling me that I need to feel guilty for people who like Twilight?
No. I'm saying, like, hate it for the right reasons, which I believe that you guys already do. But I'm just saying that, like, and this kind of came up with the 50 Shades of Grey thing, too, because, like, there are people who hate 50 Shades of Grey, not because it's problematic, but because women like it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And there are people who hate Twilight because teenage girls like it. And so I think it's important to, like, investigate that and see, why do you hate this thing? Is it because of, you know, what is the reason that you hate this thing?
It was, like, massively popular, and so, like, a lot of people just like to hate things that are popular, but also, like, I can't think of any boys that I knew that liked Twilight. Like, it was pretty much all girls, and I don't know, it kind of just goes to show, like, the purchasing power.
9 years old when it first came out, and I definitely proclaimed to hate it even at that time. And I think that's because, again, like, I had you guys to go off of, and, like, you guys were all like, this is bad. So, like, without knowing anything about it, I was like, this is bad. And I think part of that was because I was popular, and I wanted to be the edgy girl. I was, you know, lots of misogyny and all that bullshit. But that was, like, when I was 10 years old. Now I hate it because it's bad. Besides the fact that I just hate film, it's written poorly, it's edited poorly, it has almost no plot.
That's true.
It's paced terribly. It makes almost no sense.
That's true, and that's true of the book,
and I hate the characters.
Yeah.
Except, I will say that boy who almost killed Bella
an American hero!
He lives rent-free in my mind from now on.
Justice for that kid!
Tyler! His name is Tyler!
Why do you know his name?
Because I read the books!
He apologized like 6 times.
Yeah, he did. He was really trying to say, I'm sorry.
Justice for Tyler.
Yeah, agreed.
And
I like Charlie. I like Bella's dad. In the movies. I do not like him in the books, but I like him in the movies. I think it's just Billy Burke. He's very magnetic.
I wish he wasn't a cop. Otherwise,
agreed.
Great guy.
Aside from the fact that, okay, so hold on, hear me out. Aside from the fact that she's kind of a dumbass, I kind of liked Bella. It may just be Kristen Stewart, but, like, I kind of like the fact that she's, like, you're kind of a freak, don't you know that?
She's very blunt. She's very blunt.
Yeah, I kind of like that. But the other thing about it that you have to consider is that, like, I'm not trying to be, like, cute or, like, very, like, superior or anything, but pretty much everything that Edward says is, like, highly manipulative and, like, borderline abusive and, like, everything that he says. And I'm like, this poor girl, like,
this
she really just...
person literally entered her home without her consent and watched her sleep for months.
Before they were even dating.
Yeah.
That is fucking disgusting.
It's really fucked
He's
up.
like,
I would cry if someone did that to me. I would literally cry.
Basically everything that he does that's like that, like when he pulls her out the window, he's like, I could kill you if I wanted, here we go! Basically everything that he does that's like that gets a pass because it's like vampire magic.
Mm.
Like, it's like, yeah, it's abusive and terrible, but at least it's, like, kind of cool. And that's it. That's the theme.
Fair enough.
Vampires are scary and terrifying, but they're cool.
Yeah. I also don't mind. I love Kristen Stewart, and I loved her performance. Maybe that's a strong word, but I do not care. I don't mind Bella. Like, I don't hate Bella. She does make some choices that I think are kind of stupid, but mostly I just kind of feel bad for her.
Yeah.
I'm like, girl, come the fuck on!
A literal child.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. It's like, it's hard to blame her for things like that because she's only 16 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I definitely don't hate Bella at all. Mostly. Especially not in the first one. In the first one, it's like, she's just kind of doing her thing, you know?
Mm.
I get it.
She's vibing.
She's doing her thing.
There was something I was gonna say about
Structure. I was gonna say real quick that, yeah, it has almost no structure. And the book's like that, too. It's like, they're just fucking floating along, and then in, like, the middle of Act 3, there's actually some conflict. And you're like, whoa! Where did this come from? I was not anticipating that.
You know, because the movie has been out for 12 years and whatnot, and just, like, a lot of, like, you know, it's just been out for a long time. I've had a lot of exposure to it, and I've heard you talk about it a lot, and, like, just the world talk about it a lot. So I already have a lot of context about, like, the story and what's going on. But if I didn't have that, if I was just watching the movie straight up, I think I would be so fucking confused the whole time. I'd be like, well, what is going on? Who is this character? Why is he relevant? Who is this person talking to Bella? Who is this Native American guy who's not Native American? He's played by, I think, like, we think a white guy. With a bad wig. Everyone is about, who is the costume designer? And what are they doing now? Because I want to kill them. I digress. I think I would have just been really utterly confused as to what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, you had a lot of really great reactions. And in fact, there's some things that, like, I assume that you guys would know just from, like, picking things up in the ether that apparently isn't super common knowledge, like the fact that Edward can read minds. So, like, there's parts where Emily's like, what the fuck is happening? I'm like, well, he's reading her mind. But I didn't say that because I didn't realize that you didn't know that he
Wait,
could
but he's
read
not
minds.
reading Bella's mind.
No, you're
he
right.
Can't read
Yeah,
Bella's
no,
mind
no.
for reasons that we don't get to know about, apparently until the third book.
Fourth book,
Fourth
and also
book.
the explanation never really makes sense anyway, so you might as well just give up.
Why?
Why? I don't know.
Don't write something into your story unless you actually have an explanation for it and a purpose for it.
That's a really good point.
This isn't, I mean, the purpose is to make her alluring. That's pretty much
purpose.
it. I think, like, this isn't the first movie to do this, but there is, like something, I mean, there are these incredibly bizarre moments where, like, when he first, like, smells her, when she walks into their biology class, which they're taking as juniors, I don't know why, he, like, looks like he's constipated. Like,
Yeah.
he's, like, kind of, like, freaking out a little bit.
He looks like he's gonna hurl.
And it's like, I don't know, I don't think that they explain it super well. At the very least, like, the explanation is not, like, satisfying and doesn't make me, like, doesn't change my opinion of him. My initial opinion of him was, like, wow, he's a freak. Like, I don't know, I feel like the movies based on books do that thing a lot where they don't explain things because they don't think they have to because someone read the books. But it's like, it's just a very poorly made movie.
It's just lazy.
So, like, yes, like, I think it makes sense for us to assume or to have some knowledge of it because it's so old, but it's also kind of like, I just was hoping that the movie would explain a couple of things, but I guess not. It's too much to ask for.
So the other thing that I wanted to say was, I have a feeling that most of the actors, just by, like, exposure in different contexts, most of the actors are decent actors. The problem was, 1, the writing, and 2, the directing. Like, I must say that, like, whoever told Edward Cullen to look like, or not, whatever his name is, Rob Pattinson, to look like that, and they were like, yeah, that's the take we want. Do you know when things, like, have you ever smelled something good? Have you ever looked at someone when they smelled something good? Because that's not what you look like.
Yeah, imagine if it was, like, a walking, like, vegetarian garbage plate that walked into that room. What would you look like? Would you look like you were about to hurl? I think the fuck not.
Garbage plate.
Like, even if you're trying to restrain yourself, like, I just don't think that's the vibe, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Directors, Bill Condon?
It should be Catherine Hardwicke.
Oh, okay, it's just like a list of directors, so there's like 4 different directors. Yeah, fuck you, Catherine Hardwicke.
She's done some other stuff that I like, and I think that a lot of it is the writing, because a lot of it, especially, I mean, a lot of the dialogue is straight from the book.
Oh, God.
I know. Yeah, that part where he's like, the lion fell in love with the lamb. What a stupid lamb. What is it? That's all in the book. All that's in the book.
Oh my God.
I know, right? It's honestly, like, not that far off from the book. Like, it's pretty book accurate to be.
Why? Okay, why?
Why would you, like, fix it? Oh, and actually, I will say that, like, not having Bella's internal monologue is a plus. Because you...
But we get enough of Bella's internal monologue to make me angry.
Yeah, I mean, it's narration, which is never a good
Oh, yeah, if
thing.
you're narrating, like, you're probably doing something wrong.
I feel like if you read the books, you would be like, wow, that movie was actually pretty good. Because that's how I feel about it. And, yeah, I mean, like I said, the first movie is the best of all of the movies. And I personally think that the first book is also the best of all of the books. Although there is a section in book 4 that's entirely from Jacob's perspective, and it gets very close to, like, just straight up horror. And I'm like, hell yes! I'm fucking here for this!
Wait, so I don't understand. Why, so Jacob's not he's not a werewolf yet? Or he is a werewolf? Why does he hate Edward if he's not a werewolf yet?
That's a good question. So,
can they be turned? Are they like vampires where they are turned?
Sort of. First off,
do they like reach puberty and they're like...
You're getting closer, yeah.
Oh.
Actually, it is like kind of a combination of those things.
Okay.
First off, he's not actually a werewolf. Because the moon has nothing to do with it.
What?
I know, right?
He's just a wolf?
He's
Wolf boy!
Bark for me, wolf boy!
From now on, henceforth, only refer to Jacob Jason as Wolf Boy.
Wolf Boy and Goose Girl.
Oh yeah, hold on. We have to come back to that penguin in the biology lab.
Why was there a skeleton of a penguin in the biology lab?
I don't know. It was right by the stuffed owl.
Yeah. I mean, I guess it doesn't matter how much I spoil, or if I spoil stupid little shit like that, because you'd find out in the next movie anyway.
I'm not... If I can avoid it, I'm going to watch any more of them.
The vampires trigger the wolves to start transforming. Like, them being around... Basically, it's like hand-waved as them becoming wolves. It was like magic, because they're Native Americans, so they're magic, right?
Oh yeah, love that trope.
Yeah, it's really great. It's really great that she did that.
So, and you use an actual tribe.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I guess I told you guys that already, that this is an actual tribe that actually exists in the Pacific Northwest.
That is so problematic, and I fucking hate her.
So yeah, it's like a magical spell that they use to help them fight off the vampires. And if there are a lot of vampires in an area close to them, it will start to trigger them to turn into wolves.
Do these vampires know that?
I don't think so.
Oh,
okay. This kind of sounds like it's a system that works. Like, why are they villains?
Who?
The Native Americans.
They're not really villains.
Okay.
There are times where I would consider them like antagonists because they're against like what Bella wants.
Okay.
But they're not really ever villains. And honestly, I'm pretty much on their side most of the time. Like, fuck these vampires. Their main thing is just, like, the treaty. That's why they couldn't... That's another thing they didn't explain. He can't go to La Push because it's part of the treaty.
Okay.
I think we may have just been talking, or I was talking. I don't know. But the treaty is, like, they leave us alone and we don't go on their land. So they're not allowed to go to the reservation. And then the Native Americans don't bother them. But yeah, I mean, it is a good system, and it would be fine if it wasn't for Jacob and his crush on Bella.
Personal vendetta.
Yes. Yeah. It wouldn't be a problem except for that.
So, okay. Hear me out. Bella's a fine character, whatever. I don't understand why everyone is so attracted to her.
I know, right?
There's, just in this one film, there's obviously, 4 different, love interests for her. She's not that interesting.
Yeah.
And there's no excuse for the humans. Sure, she smells good to Jacob, he wants to eat her, whatever the fuck. She's not that interesting. Apart from that.
Yeah, no, you're not
I
wrong.
don't understand why she's so appealing.
And I think I don't remember if it's in this book or I think it's one of the later books. There's a part where Edward tells her that every human male in the school, because he can read minds.
Yes.
He says every human male in the school was attracted to her immediately.
Oh my god.
So, first off, there's no gay people in
did
this school.
Did a 12-year-old write this book?
Pretty much. Emotionally.
This is a fan fiction
Yikes.
written by a 12-year-old.
Well, and that's the thing, is that this isn't actually fan fiction. I mean, if it is, then...
No, it's not, but it is the quality the quality of writing.
Don't knock fan fiction!
That's why I said written by a 12-year-old. Because I'm a 21-year-old writing fan fiction.
That's true.
And my fan fiction is better than this fucking movie.
My fan fiction at 12 was not good.
No. Oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, what else did you guys think?
I will say it was a little bit I honestly knew so much of the plot, or not the plot, but so many details just from absorption. I knew that she had friends at school and things like that, but I don't know, it was interesting to me that it went against the usual trope of I'm the new kid, I'm a freak, nobody likes me, nobody's nice to me. She has friends literally immediately.
Yeah.
It almost swings too far the other way.
Yeah.
It's she's kind of a Mary Sue, everyone loves her immediately.
Yeah.
Without her having to put in any work.
Right.
Just nothing is explained.
Yeah. Where did those relationships come from?
Yeah, definitely not organic.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I was gonna say, sorry. You're right, because you've got Eric immediately, Mike immediately, Tyler immediately, and then Edward, obviously. And it's a lot.
Hunter dude.
Yeah.
Which, I get it. He just wants to kill her, but,
right.
That's a form of attraction, I guess.
Yeah.
I have to pee again.
God.
I have the bladder the size of a walnut. Leave me be.
You said something, and I don't remember what it was. Her friends.
Yeah.
Friendships.
I think it's interesting to me because at some point, at least someone at some point, probably you, described her to me as just very awkward and not very likable. And I don't know, you would think that someone like that would not make friends so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Again, she didn't have to put any work into it. It's not like she's funny. It's not like she's nice. It's not like she's a good listener. Mm-hmm. She just exists, and the people are like, okay, you're a friend now. Yeah. What the fuck? Oh, that's something else, is that there wasn't really time for it in this movie, but, in the book, she has almost no hobbies. She doesn't do anything. Mm-hmm. She does homework, and she will, if she has a day off, she will, read classic novels by, Jane Austen.
Okay.
And that's pretty much it.
Oh, jeez.
Her only other thing that she does is, figuring out that Edward is a vampire and then spending all of her time with Edward. Mm-hmm. Which, I can understand as a teenager that a relationship would, absorb you. But at the same time, she didn't have, a super strong personality before that, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like she likes video games or sports or horses.
She likes cactuses.
She loves cacti. And Jane Austen. That sounds like a band name. Cacti Jane Austen.
You know what my favorite part of this movie is?
The salad bowl?
It has always been. Yeah, actually.
That's my favorite part.
My favorite, it has always been since I ever heard about it, is, the Family Network.
Yeah.
The idea that Edward is, from a family, quote unquote, with, this weird family that lives in the mountains, and they're all dating each other and it's socially acceptable. Like, my friends had to explain that to me. I was like, you guys hear yourselves? They're like, well, they're brother and sister, but they're also dating. And I'm like, hello?
Well, and that's the really weird part, is because the brother and sister thing is all just cover, right? Because obviously they're not related, and they've all only met after becoming vampires. Mm-hmm. So the cover is, like, this rich couple adopted 5 teenagers and then allowed them to carry on sexual relationships while they're living with each other.
Right.
And it's like, what the fuck possessed you to make that your cover? Like, what? Could you not have thought of anything else?
Oh my god.
I mean, I guess, I don't know. I guess it makes it, because it's convenient because they all live together, and also they are dating and apparently can't keep their hands off each other, like, long enough to...
That is so bizarre. It's just weird.
It's a weird... And that's the other thing, too, is that they don't go into it in the movies, but they also have, like, different last names. It's weird. And something else that they didn't really go into much in the movie is that... So they see that wall of, like, caps, and Edward says, we've been through high school, like, over and over and over. Mm-hmm. And the explanation is, well... The younger we can pretend to be when we first move somewhere, the longer we can stay. Mm-hmm. But they never follow up with the question of, like, well, why do you want to stay anyway? Mm-hmm. Right? And so their explanation is that they want to be around other humans. Mm-hmm. But then you see them at school and they don't talk to anyone. They're notorious for being, like, an in crowd with no other friends. Yeah, so it's like, well, why are you in school?
I have returned.
Yeah.
Like, you clearly don't care about actually spending time with other people. Yeah. Because if you did, you would have a lot of friends.
They just, like, yeah.
But instead, they just sit by themselves.
They just really want the appearance of being like, normal humans. It's kind of weird.
It is really weird. It's really weird, especially considering the fact that they, like... I mean, who would choose to go to high school that many times? That's the weird part. Like, at least go to college.
Yeah, and at the very least, like, not enjoy parts of it. Like, the parts that are fun about it are getting to socialize, you're right.
Yes.
I always forget that, because, reasons.
Anxiety.
Yeah,
I hated high school. Why the fuck would I ever choose? I would never, ever choose to repeat high school.
Especially over and over and over for eternity.
That was, like, the other question that I had. Like, do you know how long they've been there and for?
Well, 3 years, I guess.
Yeah, I don't think it definitely hasn't been more than 3 years. Can you imagine? I'm Edward Cullen. I'm a 7th grader.
Like 5'8" or 9 or whatever
with, like, fucking sideburns and shit.
Yeah. It just seemed like they had a really strong reputation, and also that the father of that family was the only doctor in the town. So,
just like I know I've said this a couple times already, but I just want to reiterate like how little they explained. Like they spent so long establishing all these different things, like for instance the fact that their irises change color, but they didn't explain why or how. They just expect you to realize that it's because he's a vampire.
Right, yeah.
But like why and how is that relevant? Because we came to it, we spent like a whole minute on it and then just never came back to it in the text at all.
That's a good point. Yeah.
I don't even think she mentioned that when she was describing all the bullshit about why he's a vampire.
I don't remember, but you could be right. And that was funny when she goes, "Did you get contacts?" And he just says, "No."
No. Like literally, like he's not trying. He's not trying to hide the fact that he's a vampire.
Yeah, that's what I was saying.
She finds it out within like a few weeks.
Yeah, that's what I was saying with Dr. Cullen, is that like he should have a cover story for when Edward fucks up and saves her, but instead he's just like, "Guess you were really lucky." Like very ominous. Like, dude, you're not even trying.
How long have you people been vampires and you haven't figured out a decent cover story yet? Are you fucking stupid? Is that what I'm supposed to believe? You have a doctorate.
Probably several.
Yeah. Yeah, because Carlisle's been a vampire for a really long time. way longer than
he like
any
whips
of the
out
others.
his first document. They're like, "Can I see your like documentation?" And it's like from 1906.
It's like from Harvard, yeah, from like 1789.
They're like, I don't think this is, like, I don't think this is gonna work here, bud.
Yeah, I would say that there are two things that I find, like, well, other than the stuff with, like, the Native Americans, which doesn't come up a whole lot in this movie, but does in the other ones. Oh boy, does it. Other than that, there's Edward's behavior, which is pretty much terrible all around. And then the other thing that always gets me that has, like, never ceased to piss me off is the, like, is the attack in Port Angeles, where she's walking around in the streets and then she just gets accosted by this group of guys.
But it's like 10 dudes.
Oh my god, I hate that so much. I really, really hate that. I hate that because, first off, it is this really terrible fiction stereotype of, like, rape happens in a dark alley by a stranger, which is just statistically not the case. And then also, it is the trope of, let's use, like, attempted rape as a story element.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't, like, change her. It doesn't affect her in any way. All it does is force Edward to come to Port Angeles.
To save her.
So and then she finds out that he can read minds. Like, could you have accomplished that any other way?
She orders mushroom pasta, and she's like, "Why aren't you eating anything?" What does he say? That guy's thinking
I'm
about
on a special
sex.
diet.
That guy's thinking about cats. I can read minds.
Yeah, and, like, you could have done that in almost any other, like, it could have been, like, a car crash, like a potential car crash, again, or, you know, something else, wherein, you know, that didn't have to be the plot point. So, that has always pissed me off to no degree.
It's just bizarre.
It's like this woman has no tact at all. She has no concept of the things that might potentially hurt someone.
That's true.
Like the content that she's writing.
That's true.
I mean, she wants this to be really like famous, and she wants lots of people to read it, and she's like, all the sexual assault victims. Yeah, I'm gonna fuck with them. Like, yeah, that's a really great group of people to insult.
Yeah, I think it's just a lack of awareness, like, not even being aware that, like, this could be potentially upsetting for somebody, or just that, like, it's not a good way to write, like, it's cheap, it's super cheap.
The whole thing is cheap.
And then Edward's reaction to it is what is just, like, icing on the cake. Like, he's like, distract me, I'm upset!
Mm-hmm.
You're like, are you fucking kidding me right now? God!
Distract me, I'm gonna go murder those guys.
Jesus Christ.
Can vampires drown? They can't cross... Oh, that's not true. That's, like, real vampire shit.
That's why I didn't like it when you were a child.
Well, yeah, I think that was one of the excuses I used, too.
Yeah. And now that I'm older, now that I'm old and gray and ancient, I definitely think there's a lot of room, especially in, like, sci-fi fantasy tropes, to play around, and I'm usually a fan of that. Like, I didn't want to see yet another, I mean, maybe at the time I did, but now I'd be like, I'm so bored if it's just, like, the exact same vampire tropes over and over and over. Having said that, I think if you're looking at Twilight for, like, horror, or even, like, a gothic romance, you're barking up the wrong tree. Like, it's just straight up, like, monster boyfriend, and light monster. Like, Lite monster boyfriend.
He's kind of, the most monstrous things about him are like...
The human parts.
That he's toxic.
The abuse,
Yeah. I'm not sure that I'm following you about the, like, appropriation part, but I definitely know what you mean about the fact, well, I think it's just a writing issue of, like, and this goes back to the novel, of, like, they say one thing, but then they don't follow up with their actions. Like, they say they want to, they say they want to be around other humans, but they don't actually talk to humans.
Mm-hmm.
They just sit by themselves. And they do that over and over and over.
They observe humans like cattle.
Yeah, and they're kind of snobby, right? It's like, they have a reputation for, like, oh, they don't talk to us. Like, why the fuck are you here?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing here?
It just seems like if there was a, so like, why the central struggle of the story is that Edward loves Bella, but he also wants to eat her. and he's a vegetarian or whatever the fuck.
Oh my god, I hate that so much.
And it's like, so you would think that if you have such a strong ideal, this strong commitment where you're like, I will not kill people, even though it is literally like a part of my nature, you would think there would be like a really strong theme about like the value of human life, or like trying really hard to resist like really like banal impulses that put people in harm's way. And you would think that like having a community, having genuine relationships with people would be a really important part of it. It's kind of like, okay, I've only seen a few pieces of media in my entire life. It's kind of like Steven Universe. You know, like it's in their nature, not in their nature, but it's one of the things they're known for is colonizing other planets, and they kind of have to go against that, and they cost them everything to protect these humans, and so they commit to it for the rest of their lives, and they settle down, and they protect humans. It's what they do. Yeah. But the Colons are not like that. Yeah. They really just want like I don't know what they want. They want the appearance of it without like really taking part, I guess.
So this is gonna be like a 1:30 in the morning thought, but stick with me on this. A better representation of vampires, like more well written, more like developed, just better overall representation of vampires being quote unquote vegetarian is in The Little Fucking Vampire. Where they turn cows into vampires and shit, and they fly around.
Right.
I thought you were gonna say Bunnicula, but yeah, I agree.
You think are you fucking
what? You never read Bunnicula?
I've never read anything in my entire life.
Do I look like I read Bunnicula?
Katie, I didn't even read Harry Potter 2. I got bored halfway through.
Oh my god, that's the best one. What the fuck's wrong with you?
I saw all the movies before I watched the book.
That's true. She would just be a giant snake. I want to go back to what you were saying about theme, because I think that is really, really important, and there's definitely a missed opportunity. So, Bella, throughout the whole series, she claims that she loves Edward and wants to be with Edward, but I feel like I get the sense that really what she wants is to be a vampire. Mm-hmm. Like, she'll go to these lengths to become a vampire that are, extreme. And so you would think that in a story wherein vampires do have some limitations on what they can do, not many, but some, like being out in the sun and being able to eat human food. That was something else they left out of the movie, is that they can't eat human food. Mm-hmm. It tastes like dirt to them. They can eat it.
Is that why he threw that thing on the plate? It's like,
fuck this pizza.
In the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, he says, we can eat it, but it's like eating dirt. You wouldn't want to eat it, and it doesn't sustain you at all. It's just there. So, you would think that in a story about her on a quest to become something that can't do those things, that those things would be more emphasized. Mm-hmm. Like sleeping and eating and being in the sun. But no. Mm-mm. Whenever Bella eats, it's always really fast, and she's not tasting the food, and she's just I need to move past this and get on to the next thing. She doesn't care about sleeping. In fact, she would rather not sleep because Edward's around when she's sleeping. And
I don't want to sleep around him either.
She there was also that moment where she says I don't like a cold, wet thing. And I was like, yeah, wouldn't it matter wouldn't it be cool if this came back later? Mm-hmm. We found out she has seasonal affective disorder as a vampire. But no, she just doesn't care about the sun anymore. Even though it was such a strong character point in the beginning of this movie / book. It just falls, and she's I don't care anymore about the sun.
I mean, her character development was that because she,
stopped caring about the sun.
Her character development is that she became, numb.
I mean, her character development is essentially I want to be a vampire, I became a vampire. That is it. And I'm that's great for, a chapter or 3. But not for 4 books that are all, about 1,000 pages long.
Yeah, I realize these were written for, preteens and, young adults. But it would be so much more compelling if the story was, I wanted to become a vampire at age 16, I am now a vampire, and I've been a vampire for 200 years. And
I hate it.
And every time I look at what used to be my favorite food, I try and eat it, and I, bawl because it tastes like nothing, and I can't walk out into the sun. And, that's really sad, but,
And I want to kill Edward because I hate him, because who the fuck marries someone they met when they were 16?
Yeah.
Mom and Dad. Shots fired!
I feel like Edward takes this existential struggle out on Bella.
Yeah, he does. And you made a good point, because you, like, when he started talking about her being his heroine, you were like, he's trying, right?
Like the drug, not like heroin as like my female saying.
Right, yeah.
Like the drug.
Heroin, the drug. And you made a point, like, he's trying and she won't have it. But also, is he really trying? Like, how hard is he really trying?
Usually not.
Because he'll make the excuse of, like, oh, I didn't want to make my family move. But, okay, so you leave by yourself and go off somewhere else. He is...
You're plenty capable.
Yeah, he's, like, allowing himself to be in this situation where he is not going to be able to get away from her.
Right.
So it's like, okay, so do your morals really matter that much to you? Because it doesn't seem like they do. I'm just saying.
And, like, I realized that he was only turned, like, relatively recently, like in the Spanish flu or whatever. And Shelby made a hilariously amazing point, which is very pertinent to our social climate right now, that if this guy, Daddy-O, was turning people...
Daddy-O Carlisle.
Daddy-O Carlisle was turning people during the Spanish flu, there would be a lot more fucking vampires running around.
Right.
But anyway, my point is, if he has been alive for almost 100 years, how has he still not learned to deal with his emotions?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
Oh my god.
Like, I'm currently 21 years old, and I am working on dealing with my emotions.
That's so funny. I never thought about it. It's a really good
He
point.
can't even manage to, like, have a normal fucking conversation.
Oh my god. That conversation was hilarious.
All of them. I'm not even really sure which one you're thinking of specifically, but
The
all of
first
them.
one.
Oh, yeah.
One of the first things she says to him was, "You were gone."
You were gone.
Fucking stranger. He just told you his name. Like,
Did
I know
make
you knew his name,
contact?
but he just told you your name. You were gone. Yeah, I had shit to do, okay?
I was sick.
I don't owe you an explanation. You're a fucking stranger.
In the biology lab.
With the penguin skeleton behind me.
And a golden onion.
I don't get the golden onion thing. How come Bella had one after that class?
They won.
They won one.
So...
I'm so confused.
No, I know, it's stupid. So, I mean, I think it is a little bit relevant in like, terms of how Edward treats Bella, but, so the contest was, like, who can determine the cell phases of the onion cells fastest, right? And so, the thing is that Bella has taken that lab already in Phoenix, so she already knows, and Edward has taken it, like, half 100 times, because he goes to high school so much. So, she keeps second-guessing him, not knowing that, and he keeps second-guessing her, because he's already done this a million times. So then they win the lab, and they get to keep the golden onion for, like, a day or something like that.
The golden onion?
Yeah, that's the prize for...
So, fucking, is it, like, actual gold? Or
I don't know.
An onion?
How the hell would I know that?
Twilight lore, Katie. Why don't you...
I think it's just supposed to be like, I'm not even sure that it's in the book. I think it's just supposed to be like a trophy. Like, here you go, have it for a day, and then you bring it back, and next week somebody else. Oh, and we didn't. Oh, I forgot about that. There's a whole scene cut from the book where, so Bella has like a thing with blood. She can't, ironically, she can't like be around blood. She starts to faint if she's around blood. And that fucking teacher like does a whole lab without telling anyone that he's gonna do it, where they all have to prick their finger and then they find out their blood type.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I know, without telling anyone, no permission slips, nothing.
Oh my
so
god.
Bella like starts
That's
to get
so unsafe.
That's
I know.
incredibly unsafe.
Yes,
That's...
yeah, it is. And he also
Here,
does
let me
it.
prick my finger, get my blood on it, and pass it to you, and I'll give you the same needle.
I think it was sanitary in that sense, but also just like not a good thing to
You
do.
do not give a bunch of juniors the chance to prick
Stab
themselves
themselves.
and get their blood everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely
Because
not.
they will take it.
In fact, I think it's even worse than that. If I recall correctly, the first person that like it happens to, the teacher like grabs their hand and like stabs them,
Jesus.
and then puts it. Yeah. So because of that, Bella has to like go to the nurse, and Edward helps her, and yeah. But anyway, I don't remember where I was going with that. But that science teacher is even worse in the book.
That's hilarious.
Yes. And there's also an exchange, I'm pretty sure it's in the first book, where Bella's like, ugh, I hate blood. I hate the coppery smell of blood. And Edward goes, humans can't smell blood.
What?
And she was like, yeah, they can. And he's like, no, they can't. And this is a person with, spoilers, a medical degree. Bitch, what the fuck you mean we can't smell blood? Based on what?
Oh my god.
So that was funny.
That's so funny.
Hilarious.
Vampire mansplaining what it's like to be a human.
Yeah, does he not remember that from when he was a
Fucking
human?
typical. Oh, God.
Oh my god. That's crazy. Yeah, that whole, like, I'm sorry, but the most intriguing tension that there could possibly be in this universe is Edward's existential crisis. Like, he should maybe possibly hate Carlisle for changing him.
Yeah.
Which,
Yeah, I think I'd rather would die.
by the way, that's Dr. Daddy-O to you.
Dr. Daddy-O Carlisle. That's kind of Rosalie's backstory. She wishes she hadn't been turned.
That makes
Is that why
sense
she
to
broke
me.
the salad bowl? Drink salad was her favorite food before she was turned.
And they're so worried
Italiano.
And I don't really understand why they're so worried about being found out. Like, I mean, first of all,
What do they think is going to happen?
They can, like he said, I can outrun you. I can outstrong you. Outstrength you.
Oh, actually, now that I think about that, there is an explanation for it, but it wasn't in that movie at all.
Okay.
So it comes up in later books, but even then, it's still pretty weak.
I guess the only thing I can think of is, like, they don't want to have to uproot and, like, leave their life behind. But I'm like, what life? You all live secluded in this, like, ugly-ass house. And you,
That apparently was built specifically for vampires because there's a double French door that opens
Leads to nowhere.
out to no patio to a giant drop-off.
well, there's their kitchen.
Shots fired
Yeah,
about
that's a good
that
point.
house, though. Damn, she does not like that house.
Shit does not make any sense. Yeah, the house is ugly. It's mid.
Yeah,
mid-century
it's modern.
I hate
Yeah,
it.
I'm not a big fan of modern either. I do like how many windows it has, though. Anyway, not relevant.
And I feel like, so here's the thing.
Why
With
does it have so many windows if they can't live in sunlight?
That's a really good
Well,
question.
they can live in sunlight, they just can't have anyone see them in sunlight.
Right.
Yeah.
So here's the thing with like the representation in the film. There is a surprising amount of representation. We've got representation of Native Americans. We've got representation of Black people. We've got representation of people who are disabled. But the thing is, all of the main characters are white
And straight.
and straight, and all of the representation is not positive.
Yeah.
Like all the Black characters in the movie
Except
were
for Cora.
Oh, yeah.
The waitress.
Wait.
oh yeah,
She's got
were
like
like
5 lines, 3 lines.
they were villainized in some sort of way. Like the guy who almost killed her in a car crash, and the other guy who like vaguely redeemed himself because he warned them, but like they already fucking knew, so they didn't really need the warning. And like all of the Native Americans are antagonists, and they're also wolf people.
Yeah. Highly problematic.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Are you fucking kidding me? And I don't know. I guess the disabled guy is fine, but he's another Native American who like is a wolf people.
Also not played by a disabled actor, if that matters
Oh
to
yeah.
you.
Yeah,
I love Gil
of course he's not.
Birmingham, but he's not played by a disabled actor.
So it's like you try. It's like that picture of SpongeBob with a rainbow saying you fucking tried.
Well,
But how hard did you try, really?
and so that's the interesting thing. This kind of comes back to like bad representation versus no representation.
Yeah.
So other than the Native Americans, at least in the first book, I'm pretty sure no other character is specified to be non-white.
Mm.
Tyler is not like written as a Black guy. He's just a guy. I'm
dude.
pretty sure that he's supposed to be white. And by supposed to be, I mean like that's the
She
default.
envisioned him.
Yeah, exactly. And then so even worse, I don't know that I could back this up 100%, but I've heard other people interpret the text as vampires are always white. Even if they were like Black before they were turned, once they are turned, their skin changes.
Oh my god.
I know. So like
What
the movie
the fuck?
the movie sort of improved on that by including characters of color, but then also didn't do a great job of making them like relevant characters who were portrayed positively or realistically, right? Yeah. So from what I understand of the way people have, and I've read all the books, but I I'm not really sure 100%. I'm not sure that if you ask Stephanie Meyer specifically, I'm not sure she would say, like, yeah, all vampires are white. But I'm pretty sure that that's how it's written.
That's fucking just gross.
It's really
It's
gross.
just gross.
It's very gross.
And, like, how hard would it have been? Like, they already are all talked about, like, all the kids are supposed to be foster kids. So, like, you would have literally done absolutely zero damage by making, like, one of them black, and one of them white, and one of them Latina, and one of them, I don't know, Japanese or something. Like, it would have been so easy.
Not to mention that there is not a single gay character in any of the books.
Oh, absolutely not, because she's Mormon.
Like, I think that they're...
No sex unless it's rape. No gay people at all.
They're in the filming of not the last movie, but the second to last movie, Stephanie Meyer has, like, another small cameo at the wedding, and she's standing next to somebody else who was involved in the movies. I think he was, like, a producer, and the producer himself is gay. So her and the producer did an interview, or she said in an interview that they were joking about how he's the first gay character in Twilight.
Oh my god.
Because a nameless background character with, like, a single second of screen time
It's like that.
counts. As
What movie is
representation.
that happened in? Where they were like, it was the first Disney movie with, where, like, two girls were kissing or something.
Yeah. It was in the
Oh, it was
last
Star
Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. They had
They were
two
like-
female characters kissing in the background of a single shot. Don't know the names.
Like half a second.
No dialogue. Just a single
That's peak representation right there. I feel so related to
kiss.
it.
Bring out your gays. Final thoughts on Twilight?
Bad.
What do you mean final? I'm not done.
Oh, God.
It's not really good final thoughts, but I have thoughts anyway. When it first came out, I didn't know anything about vampire lore. I only just listened to what you said. And since then, I have read Dracula.
Mm.
And I still have yet to see any other vampire movies.
Except for Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire and The Little Vampire.
Oh, that's true.
Did you read Bunnicula?
No.
Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire. Honestly, Mom's Got a Date with a Vampire is like decent representation of like original vampire lore. What did you
Right.
say?
Yeah. It's pretty damn close.
When did Bunnicula become part of the canon?
What the fuck is Bunnicula?
It's a bunny rabbit who's a vampire!
Oh, is that from like a Monty Python and the Holy Grail?
No,
Oh.
no, it's a kid's book where he actually doesn't drink blood, he drinks the color out of vegetables.
Oh, that's cute.
It is kind of cute. They're like, why is my tomato white?
So he's the character that turns vampires of color white in Twilight.
Yes.
They turn you into a
Vampire bunny
vampire.
bite.
They inject you with the venom and they bring out Bunnicula. They're like, time to make
Here
you
you
white,
go.
cheeky.
You were saying
I
about,
also-
like, comparing it to vampire lore.
I also have seen Let the Right One In.
Oh, yeah. That's
Which,
good.
like, I don't really remember it, but anyway,
Spoilers.
so I actually kind of, like, I kind of feel strongly about it, like, sort of. I really don't like this portrayal of vampires. I think that they're OP. They're
Yes.
Like, you're super fast and super strong. You're Superman. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's what Superman is.
That's not even including the psychic powers.
Yeah.
Between him reading minds and Alice telling the future, it's like, well, how the fuck...
You're just a superhuman.
What's
you
the
know?
threat? Like, who's ever going to attack them if
Yeah.
there's so many of them and they're so strong?
And
We
their
don't-
powers are somewhat unpredictable, too.
We don't ever talk about like the things that other people can do to stop vampires because apparently the only thing you can do to stop a vampire is get like 5 more vampire buddies, rip off his head, and burn him with the floor of your old ballet room.
Yeah.
Yeah, if I recall correctly, I don't believe there's a single instance of, like, a human who can kill a vampire in the whole series.
Can the werewolves even? Can the wolf boys even?
Yes, but it's not... It's harder for them than it is for other vampires. Partly because they're mortal. So, like, they can actually die. I mean, so can the vampires, but, like, they can actually get hurt. And they need time to heal, as opposed to the vampires who, like, I think they, like, grow back immediately or something. I don't know. I don't know. I could be wrong about that.
I really like Dracula. I think what I like about it is just that it's like a mystery, kind of, and it's not one that, you know, anyone could have solved before when it came out, at the time that it came out, because there wasn't that much, like, that lore that existed, but I don't know, I like it. I like that he has specific powers that, like, maybe they are really powerful, like, he can turn into mist and he can turn into a wolf, so it's like, he can kind of go anywhere. But he also can't pass over water unless he's in his cage.
Coffin.
Cage.
And he's really dependent upon his coffin, which means he's really dependent upon real estate. Like, I like the limitations. I think that it makes for an interesting story. It makes for a little bit more interesting of a creature. Like, it's like you're hunting something that's really specific, and you have to kind of know its ins and outs. I also think that, like, the tension with Edward is that he describes himself as, like, a predator. Like, he's built to be a predator, and he doesn't want to, and that's his tension. And with Dracula, there isn't that, because he's pretty much straight up evil. Like, there's no redeeming Dracula. He's just really evil.
No romantic interest.
Yeah, no, not at all. No.
Sorry, I laughed while you were talking because I had a really, I think it's a really funny idea because it's 2 a.m. I want a movie that's like a comedy about like an irredeemably bad vampire, but he like thinks he's so like modern. Like he's like, I don't sleep in a coffin. I have a casket. That's it. That's my whole thought.
That's pretty much. Is that not what Edward is? Like, he's like, I'm not like those other vampires. I have a sports car.
Oh God.
Honestly, that's a thing that Dracula would do. Yeah, and I think that that's what makes it more, I don't know, more horrific, is that he's like a creature of the night and he's just straight up evil. Maybe it's a little bit less interesting, I guess, because you don't have like that struggle, but like, I don't know. Edward's pretty uninteresting to me.
Yeah, Brandon Sanderson always says of like magic systems that the limitations are what make the story. Mm-hmm. Like if you and when you think about like traditional vampire weaknesses, the Cullens have none of those.
Yeah.
You know, they're not affected by running water, they're not affected by silver, they're not affected by mirrors, they're not affected by crosses or any other religious symbols.
Even the sun is like barely
yeah, they're not attracted to nothing. They have zero weaknesses.
They're literally making Italian food for Bella.
Yeah.
A staple of Italian food is garlic.
Garlic. Yeah. Yeah.
So stupid.
They have. I would go out as so far as to say they have zero weaknesses. The only enemies besides themselves that have any chance of ever defeating them are the wolves, and those are like very specific to this one area. Like they never say like, oh, there's tribes all across the country. It's just the one. So
that's absurd.
Yeah, and I mean, there's even like, I think it's in book 4, there's like a backstory of like how these powers came to be, and it's specific to this specific tribe of Native Americans. So they're pretty much invincible.
Real Dracula is like snake oil done well, where it's like, yeah, I've got you a good monster. He drinks blood. He's really powerful. He's got all these things, but also these are all the things that are problems with him. And like Twilight vampires are like a 12-year-old who is like first like just starting out to play like role play games and doesn't realize your character isn't interesting unless you have flaws. So the character is completely OP, and every time someone says something about actually hurting their character, they say, no, that didn't actually happen. Actually, this is what happened, because they don't understand how to role play.
Yeah. I mean, the metaphor works both ways with snake oil, because it's also like, sometimes you get people who play snake oil, they're like, well, it's a magic box. It can do literally anything. Can it do this? Of course it can. Can it do this? Of course it can. How much does it cost? $1. And you're like, okay, that's not funny or interesting. It's just a cheat.
Yeah.
And that's what the vampires in Twilight are. And that's I mean, other than like the problematic stuff, that's one of my biggest complaints about the series, is that the vampires are just so like invincible that it takes away all the tension. There's no tension. They can see the future, they can read minds, and they're super powerful. So what is the threat here?
The threat is that Bella's not going to want to be with Edward anymore.
But that is never in question, because there's not a single second of any of these books where she's like, I don't want Edward. Never.
It's honestly like
the only time that like it's actually the reverse, that Edward doesn't want Bella, or that she thinks he doesn't, and blah blah blah. So anyway,
it's like, not to get...
Why even write a love story about vampires if it's not going to be about the fact that they're vampires? Go ahead.
I don't know, it's not... I don't want to get, like, too far into abuse, but, like, that's kind of a, I don't know. It can be a hallmark of, like, an abusive relationship if you, like, you want the power over them because you are afraid that they'll leave you. So it's like, I don't know, that's it. That's the tension. Like, That's it.
This relationship is toxic.
Yeah, like, I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I guess I'm not saying that, like, Edward is never afraid that Bella will want to leave him, because he's constantly thinking that she's going to want to leave him. But I'm saying, like, in terms of internal narration, there's never a single second where she's like, maybe this isn't such a great idea.
Because if Bella had any thoughts about leaving Edward, she would realize that he's the fucking worst, and she would actually decide to leave him. And then where would we be? Oh, without this series. Thank God.
There's also arguably some tension with, like, his, moral ideas and moral alignments, but there's actually not any at all. If you think about it.
Yeah.
His morals are that tofu is not satisfying. Fuck you, Edward Cullen.
You've
Love
never eaten tofu. I know you've never eaten tofu.
When was tofu, like, popularized in America?
I don't know, but I'm sure it was after the Spanish flu.
Yeah, probably. When was the Spanish flu?
1918, yeah.
Oh, wow. So, like, 102 years ago. That's a good amount of time to go between pandemics.
Do you think that
I could use a little more.
Do you think that in 2122 they're gonna write some dumbass story about someone who got turned immortal during COVID-19? They're just gonna say, "Oh yeah, it was 2020, yeah, so this is what happened."
I really hope not. I kind of hope we're all dead by then.
Yeah, I'm like, do you think that really are we gonna have a functioning human society in 2121?
I do not know.
Hopefully literature will at least have progressed a little bit.
Maybe.
I mean, who knows?
You know, I would argue that literature has digressed since like the 1600s. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
I don't know. I think it's hard to measure. I will say that for all the shit that I've talked about Twilight tonight and in the past, 50 Shades of Grey is 10 times worse. It's so much worse.
Oh no.
I know, right?
In terms of, like, problematicness or in terms of, like, storytelling, like writing?
Problematic. I mean, the writing is garbage.
Okay, yeah.
It's definitely worse than Twilight.
Oh.
But I can't even look at that anymore because if I focus on the writing, I won't be able to see anything else.
Okay.
So,
you, like,
yeah.
I don't know, has it been, like, factually proven that 50 Shades of Grey is actually a fanfiction?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, it has? Really?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes,
Oh, I
absolutely.
can't believe that got published.
I know,
I
right?
think if I changed the names in my 280,000 word fanfiction that I could get it published.
Is there a lot of abuse in it?
Like a very mild amount of abuse, but not between like the two like love
Oh, then
interests.
no. It won't. It has to be between them. Or something like
Just be between them.
that.
Just the
There's
cheat
like
code.
drama between them, but it's not abuse.
It's been scrubbed from the internet, but Dan Olson has a really great series on 50 Shades of Grey, and in the first one he goes in pretty in-depth in terms of, like, the fact that it was definitely based on a fanfiction. And she'll lie, like, E.L. James will lie and say, well, it's based on a fanfic, like, it's based on an idea from fanfiction that I never wrote, but I did write a fanfiction of Twilight, but it's just, that is not the case.
Can you imagine she's in an interview and it turns to someone else and they're like, that is not the case.
Hard cut to a fanfiction expert.
We need a bullshit decoder on every single interview and it ever goes down.
Yeah. Final thoughts? I mean, it's definitely, like, it accomplished what I wanted in terms of, like, it was funny to watch.
Oh yeah, it was
Yeah.
so fun. It was super fun.
It's really, really dope.
It was great.
I really enjoy, like, I understand the frustration of when this occurs when we're watching a movie that we actually want to partake in, but I really enjoy watching a movie and being able to talk over all of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
Yeah.
satisfying.
There was never a point where I felt genuinely connected to any of the characters. I struggle. So
There was never
Not
a
even
point,
the deer at the beginning?
There was never a point in which I fully understood what was going on and was invested in anything that was going on.
here's my question: why is it called Twilight?
I don't know.
Oh boy.
Because it was a cool name.
Yeah, pretty much, I
It's
think.
so contrived.
There's not
Every
even a thing. There's not even like one sentence that says like we have to hang out most of the time at twilight because the sun is that.
That would be really smart and clever. I don't.
clever.
I'm not saying that, like, I know for a fact that the word Twilight never appears in the first book, but I don't remember there being a significant, like, oh, that's why this is the title of this book. I have no idea.
Just everything about it is so contrived.
That's true. That's something I hate, and I say that about every, like, sci-fi fantasy thing, where I don't like contrivances. I like it to be organic.
The whole thing is a contrivance. contrivance. Gotta say.
It's all contrived. Oops, all contrivance.
They should have called it Contrived instead of Twilight.
And I just want to point out, so like, not a great title, but at least, so you've got Twilight, you've got New Moon, Eclipse, and then Breaking Dawn, which, like, those are all things that happen, right? But then she just came out with Midnight Sun, which is the first book told from Edward's perspective, and I'm like, what the fuck is a midnight sun? What is that? Where in the world is it midnight and the sun's out? In, like, the North Pole?
A lunar eclipse, maybe? But there's already one called Eclipse.
How would a lunar eclipse have a sun?
The lunar eclipse is when the moon goes over the sun.
Oh god, we're talking to Shelby about the moon.
We'll finish our
Wait, no.
explanation.
So a lunar eclipse is when the moon eclipses the sun during, like, daytime.
No. You got
That's a
that
solar
backwards.
eclipse.
That's a solar eclipse.
Oh.
A lunar eclipse is when the Earth gets between the sun and the moon, casting a shadow on the moon.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Which also cannot happen. It's
During
not a sun.
daytime.
It's a moon.
That happens at night.
Yes.
I mean, the sun is around. Or, well, we're around.
Literally around. As in around the other side of the earth.
I'm not defending the title choice, the choice title.
It sounds like you are.
Midnight Sun. It's probably some stupid ass bullshit where it's like Bella's his son at midnight.
Apparently there's
I hate that.
Bella's no sun. She's never sunny. She's
not.
fucking miserable the whole time.
That's
it's
true.
very evident.
Apparently there's no explanation for any of the titles, so we don't need an explanation.
That's true.
We don't need an explanation for literally anything, apparently.
Oh yeah, they didn't explain in the movie either how they got so much money. It's not because Dr. Cullen is a Cullen. What did you call him? Dr. Daddy-O.
Dr. Daddy-O Carlisle.
It's because Alice uses her abilities to see the future to gamble and make a lot of money.
Oh.
I know, right?
I
I
thought
thought,
it
like,
was just like
teenagers weren't allowed to gamble.
Apparently you are, if you are psychic.
Oh.
I thought it was just like generational wealth.
Nope.
They just had a lot
That
of
would make
time
more
to make
sense,
money.
honestly.
Nope. Alice uses she abuses her magical powers to play the stock market or gamble.
I mean,
That's hilarious.
as a
know,
communist,
right?
I don't really, like, that's fine. Anything down with capitalism, I don't know.
I guess my feeling is like, and if we do watch further more movies of these in the future, this will come up more. But like, actually, I mean, it's relevant in the first one. Let's do a thought experiment. You are 17 years old for the rest of your life. Not for the rest of your life, for the rest of eternity. But they also are very explicit that, like, becoming a vampire makes you, like, more, stereotypically attractive. And I mean that in the literal sense that, like, the writing is really bad, because when she talks about the way that the vampires look, she uses terms like angel, or model, or actress. Not, like, specific, like, these are beautiful things about them, but, like, oh, they look like an angel. Right?
I see what you're saying.
So when you become a vampire, you are young forever, you are beautiful forever, you also have unlimited time because you don't need to sleep or eat.
What if you got turned at age, like, 75?
You're still beautiful.
I hate that.
And you, have endless resources because you have Alice making, so, like, with all of that, what could you do?
Yeah. What's their motivation? What do they want?
Well, what I'm saying is, like, almost anything other than high school. Like,
Yeah.
find the cure for cancer, or, like, write a series of best-selling novels,
Yeah.
or compose your music, like, something.
Or
But they don't
apparently
do
Edward knows
anything.
how to play piano.
Yeah, they don't do anything. They don't, like, or become a vigilante.
You could literally, like, revolutionize all of America.
Sure.
And, like, rewrite the governmental system to benefit people who are in need.
Yeah, or
But instead, they're going to high school for the 60th time.
you could literally be a superhero. You could, like, especially if you could read minds, you could go and save people from crimes.
Right?
Like, at night. You could be Batman. He is
Mhm.
Batman.
Mhm.
But he doesn't do that.
That would be far more compelling than whatever the fuck that was.
I know, that's what I'm saying.
It just doesn't add up.
Shit's not adding up, sis.
It doesn't make any sense.
I just wish that it had been something that I could have ever cared about.
I'm glad it wasn't.
That's
Yeah,
true.
I guess you're right.
For me, anyway.
Honestly, what if it had been gay?
That's a different story. But as is, not great.
Mm-mm.